I guess today's state of Missouri can be considered a gateway to the West, at least passage to the southern Great Plains, including Kansas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, even Texas. Daniel Boone moved here to hunt and eventually die near the Missouri River. His burial site is in Marthasville. Christopher Kit Carson was raised in Howard County, Missouri. In the 19th century, many famous outlaws, thieves, and brigands tended to emerge from the grasses of what was considered to be the mid-border country. Arkansas and Oklahoma became the core Indian Territory, a gathering of many victims of the Eastern establishment's schemes of Indian removals. Missouri has no Indian reservations. Kansas today has 4 small Native American reservations. Co-captains Meriwether Lewis and William Clark led their Corps of Discovery across the lower Missouri River bottoms, beginning late in the day on May 21, 1804. Their stake lay roughly 4,000 miles west, but somewhat northwest, skirting the edges of these mid-country lands. Leaving St. Charles, the crew of more than 40 pushed against what seemed to be very impossible odds, upriver against the current of the Missouri River. The valley did not resemble flat plains as such, but a heavily forested and fertile bottomland that seasonally flooded. Today it is a tourist attraction and invitation to recreation along the Katy Trail State Park that meanders alongside the river. Orchards and wineries like Hermann Hill hover over the lush terrain and signature Gasconade County, labeled the Missouri Rhineland. By 1800, there were about 5 million Americans, not counting Indians, on the continent, reflecting a 5-fold increase in the past 50 years. The frontier folk were reproducing citizens faster than the census takers could keep up. The first census was in 1790. The river between St. Louis and Jefferson City, capital of the state of Missouri, early on began to shepherd the restless types toward the setting sun. Departure of the Corps of Discovery against the current of the Missouri River from St. Charles introduced the boats and crew to pure adventure and physical challenges they had trained for. Good thing, too, because the first weeks traveling west toward what is now the Kansas border were encumbered by often soggy, rainy weather, mosquitoes, ticks, and gnats patiently waiting for novel targets to bite, and a spring runoff that caused the river to rise and pose constant capsize danger to the boats and men both. Vigilance did not always pay off, as the mast of the keelboat itself was snapped by a tree branch overhanging the river. Time was lost repairing it. On another occasion, at the Devil's Race Ground, boatsmen misjudged a rocky pass to the extent that all crew had to jump overboard in order to keep the boats upright, or otherwise lose precious supplies to the muddy torrents. Captain Clark was prone to a cold later, with headache and sore throat in the first week of June. As I myself tracked the approximate route of the expedition in June 2024, I encountered the same mosquitoes and experienced the itches of uncounted no-see-ums, or unidentified bites, for a week, plus a few ticks. One major surprise to myself loomed not far upstream from St. Charles, at one of the Corps' early stopping points, called Weldon Spring. An enormous mound of rocks. Irony here. The sacred mounds of the Native American Mississippi culture rising near St. Louis are here matched by the sacred mounds of modern American culture. A mass of earth rocks covering thousands of tons of uranium and radioactive material generated by World War II atomic weapons production. The waste site, one of several managed by the U.S. Department of Energy and scattered around the country, sits atop former prairie land that the Lewis and Clark expedition marveled at as their boats briefly idled on the Missouri River shore. Today, the earthen disposal cell, as it's called, contains the cleanup of both World War and Cold War nuclear waste. It is described by the government as, quote,
an excellent example of beneficial reuse of a former World War II explosives manufacturing and Cold War uranium metals processing facility.
Hopefully, walking to the top of the 70-foot-high stone pile, which is now possible, is safe and free of fear of exposure to the eternal flame of the atomic. Some towns were displaced here as long ago as 1941. Uranium processing operations nearby ceased in 1966. Near Weldon Spring, 30 miles from St. Louis, Clark mentioned the, quote, dense canopy of trees that overhangs the river. There were wildflowers, thickets of shrubs, and limestone cliffs, great blue herons, white-tailed deer. Some Kickapoo hunters had shot 4 deer and brought them to the boats in exchange for 2 quarts of whiskey. Meriwether fell from one of the 300-foot, mostly limestone cliffs, but Clark reported that he had saved himself by planting his knife into the ground at about 20 feet. As mentioned previously, Daniel Boone lived his last days along the bottoms, not far up the Missouri from St. Charles. His sons, Nathan and Daniel Morgan, acquired property a few years before the discovery party sailed, hauled, and rowed past. But there is no record or report of anyone of the crew meeting Boone or his family during the transit. Boone moved into a cabin in 1799 and was appointed then by a Spanish government to be a judge in the Le Osage Femme District, or the Osage Woman District. Nathan's rather substantial home was built along Osage Femme Creek. The area also became known as the Boone Lick Country, as salt sloughs dotted the riverside, attracting wildlife and hunters alike. The aging Dan Boone himself spent a lot of his last years out hunting. After visiting Fort Osage near the Kansas border in 1816, one officer stated, quote,
"We have been honored by the visit from Colonel Boone. He has taken part in all the wars of America, but he prefers the woods, where you see him in the dress of the roughest, poorest hunter."
Boone apparently died while hunting. Shortly upriver, the crews were organized into 3 groups commanded by designated sergeants. Eating and lookout habits were established, with each man allotted a gill of whiskey, or about a quarter pint, 4 ounces, daily to wash down lied cornmeal, pork, grease, and dirty river water. Fresh game encountered on the trip was almost always a welcome supplement, along with some of the Native American offerings. The whiskey eventually ran out.
Guitar, now I'm changing all the strings, growing on my hair, and I'm selling everything. It won't be long till I'm back out on the road. It won't be long. Oh yeah, you'll feel me tonight, girl, because tomorrow I'll be gone. I got an aching in my soul and a burning in my heart. I got a road I got to travel down, and it's high time that I start. It won't be long till you won't see me anymore. It won't be long. That's why I told you when I met you that I couldn't stick around for very long. Everybody knows. You gotta live before you die and make the most of everything before you go. Everybody knows. Everybody listen up now. It won't be long. Diagnose diseases but don't offer any cure. And you who laugh are on her and are shocked to find traitors. It won't be long till it all comes back to you. It won't be long. Laugh it up now while you can, boys. Judgment Day is gonna come. And see you beaten and betrayed, your lonely, broken-hearted masses. He that loves this life will lose it, and the first will be the last. It won't be long till these promises come true. It won't be long. Stop living like a slave. You've been set free. Now pick up your mat and walk. Everybody knows. You gotta live before you die and make the most of everything before you go. Everybody knows. Everybody listen up now. It won't be long.